Data integrity was displayed on the screen as an anonymous approximation of a face. Ambassador Alex disconnected the cable that linked the chest piece of her all-purpose pressure suit to the console she was sitting at. Leaning back, she raised her hands and instinctively ran her fingers through the curly strands of hair at the back of her head, playing with them momentarily to relax. "All good, I think. What are your instructions?" Alex inquired. "Get as many from the reserve as you can put your hands on onto the main team. I want everyone and their mother to analyze the audio, and every word it said," her contact instructed. Her eyes fell on a disc-shaped device that looked out of place with its smooth, nearly organic exterior in a soft matte beige, surrounded by shiny metals and polished plastics of every gradient between white and black. The communications room was filled with the finest tech. Screens wherever she looked, computer racks to enhance the ship's mainframe, and several layers of redundant backups for any part of the comm system. There was only a narrow path to the door and a floor-mounted swivel chair, the only free space for a human. "I've got it right here, but there is nothing I can tell you about it. No visible energy source, no measurable outgoing transmissions, and not even any indication of how it works. I've pushed it through the wave box though, so get some eyes on that data." "Okay, then how much time do we have?" 2 hours max. I may lie down in the meantime, but I doubt I can relax. Don't feel like eating much either. Just do your thing and get back to me as quickly as you can. I suggest resting nonetheless. See you in a bit. Bye, she replied before ending the transmission by touching a specific area of the screen. Alex had only one point of contact, but she saw in her mind's eye how hundreds of others would soon work tirelessly on sifting through whatever data could be extracted from the recordings and scans she provided. Offloading work and distributing experience and knowledge was part of the definition of a hive mind. Shaking that thought away, she tried to mentally sort through the last hour. The first meeting had ended with the alien requesting a break to rest. Her preparation came into play then. Alex was proud because she had brought an actual mechanical clock with her and had fetched it from the ship to explain time. Imagine explaining time, breaking down the rhythm of planetary movement, revolutions, rotation, day-night cycle, a concept usually taught to a small child. Here, an alien being with possibly immeasurable intelligence needed it explained, and then it had dictated the break to be 147 minutes. She got up to do more thinking, but that had to be accompanied by some good pacing, and there wasn't enough space in the communications room. So, she migrated to the former central common room and lounge area, which was slightly less filled with additional equipment. There was also a significantly higher probability of finding a snack. Ambassador Alex, incoming transmission. Quickly, she went over to the large wall-mounted screen and tapped the glowing button on it. The 2 hours were nearly over, and she had become restless. "I'm listening." It was her contact again. "Hello, Ambassador Alex. I have a set of instructions to put together and utilize a device that will help you understand the output from the alien translator. Since there is not much time left, I suggest starting immediately." Suggestion accepted. "Go ahead. Slot a blank multi-purpose board into the printer and load up the plans I have transferred just now." Following those directions, Alex went to the matter printer and took a small, densely populated circuit board. She carefully pushed it into a holding clip that doubled as a data transfer port on a small screen beside the printer. She then typed a sequence of buttons to load up and execute the blueprint she had received. Immediately, the device went to work, layering liquefied ceramics, polymers, and whatever metallic components the blueprint demanded onto and around the board. "So, what is this thing I'm fabricating?" Alex asked without taking her eyes off it. "We found the alien translator device to output speech in multiple layers simultaneously, with up to 40 lines spoken at the same time." "Wait. So I understood only a fraction of what it said? That's insane. It didn't sound scrambled together though. I was able to clearly hear short phrases. The loudest layer is the only one clearly decipherable by human ears. It is a very basic synopsis of each message. What did it fully say then? I suggest using the interpreter device going forward, but there is not enough time to go through the audio transcript. The difference in message length to the synopsis is significant in most cases." Alex glanced at the embedded clock on the printer's display. She would only have 3 more minutes. At least the printer head was already doing its last few twitches, depositing a finishing layer onto the two cable-bound pieces of equipment. Seconds later, it let off the audio signal for being done. So Alex grabbed what she recognized as an earpiece and a small, flat rectangular thing. Both were now shiny black after the brief hardening period. Mount the main unit to your suit in a place where it will best pick up the translator audio output. The earpiece was designed to fit your right ear. Be aware that there might be a noticeable time delay before you hear the full message, depending on the information density. The interpreter was devised with the same no-emission standards as the rest of your equipment. Okay, then. Till the next break. Goodbye and good luck. A minute later, Ambassador Alex arrived back in the meeting room, the translator in hand and the translator-interpreter stuck to her chest plate. The flat wall on the far end was opaque, as it had been when she first entered. She noticed that the room had changed. The walls were narrower, the ceiling was lower, or rather, the floor was higher, and the stool had been replaced with a proper chair that actually had a backrest. On it lay the clock she had originally put down onto the stool, but it still looked seemingly undisturbed. She left it in its place, remaining standing as her anticipation ran high. The moment of truth came a little later when the barrier between the alien being and her turned translucent. Emile, feeling somewhat prepared for what was about to happen, approached the massive, sapient creature. The alien, with its intense, large eyes fixed on her, lay in a prone position, resting on its sizable arms, which gave it a somewhat relaxed appearance. She noticed that the alien translator device felt subtly different in her hand now. "Greetings again," the device chirped in an unfittingly thin voice. Emile held her breath until she could hear the synthetic voice through her earpiece. "Welcome back, representative of humans. I am joyful to see your return and hope you have rested and recharged. I apologize again for the need to instigate a break, but I am now ready to engage in more discourse." Emile couldn't suppress her smile. There was an inexplicably large amount of excitement in the greeting from the human. Additionally, she noticed something new about them. The alien, whom we will call NAR, observed a dark object clinging to Emile's apparel, hanging on a thin wire that seemed to come from one of the audio-sensory inlets on her head. NAR looked closely but couldn't discern its purpose, prompting her to ask a thoughtful question. "I do not want to overstep any bounds in my curiosity, but I noticed you have brought a new object with you. It has a strange and disharmonic shape, but is finely made and wonderful to view up close. Is this something you want to show me? It is as interesting as the timekeeping machine you previously mentioned, which I still find fascinating. I would be happy to learn more about the machine's human use." After NAR sent her thoughts to the translator, it took longer than usual for Emile to respond. Emile stood still for a long moment before replying, her excitement palpable. She explained that the device complemented NAR's translator, as it did not speak in a way a human could properly understand. Emile and her team had built it during the rest period, and now she was able to hear everything NAR said. NAR felt both thrilled and embarrassed. It seemed her translator had not been made correctly, or perhaps she had misinterpreted the human's audio communication abilities. She had nearly jeopardized this first contact meeting. Reflexively, NAR clicked in frustration before tensing up. Clicking was impolite and decidedly undiplomatic. She dearly hoped Emile had not sensed it. Quickly, she redirected the conversation to questions about the new machine to distract from her lapse. A sharp, sub-bass snap, barely audible, made Emile flinch in surprise. She couldn't tell where it came from, and there was no reaction from the alien. A moment later, it felt like it could have been a hallucination. Straining her ears, Emile noticed the complete absence of noise besides her own movements and the translator's voice. This silence had been subconsciously unsettling since she had stepped onto the ship. The translator's voice broke her thoughts again, making her flinch. "How did you build it so fast? It is wonderful that you could compensate for the inadequacy of my translator and that you can now better understand me. I am very interested in learning how you were able to swiftly design and build this machine in the short time span I suggested for the break." Choosing to ignore the previous incident, Emile began her prepared explanation. "In my ship, I have a machine that can weave metals and plastics to create different building blocks. These blocks can be combined to form nearly any kind of small machine or device I may need for this meeting. I sent the audio recording for analysis to my colleagues, who designed this interpreter device so I could better understand you. The machine then built it for me within 2 minutes. AR responded, but I see that you can build very fast as well. You have changed this room while I was gone. The shape is easy. Tell me more about the weaving machine. The interpreter expanded. This room is merely a surface I have made to encapsulate the specialized environment necessary for your well-being. Changing the internal size or general and detailed shape is an effort not worth mentioning. I am fascinated by the matter weaving machine you spoke of that can build this interpreter machine so fast and create other machines. How did you build it so it can contain the intellectual ability necessary to understand what it is building? How do you teach it new things? Emile exhaled through pressed lips. These were complex questions, and NAR had not even explained how she could reshape a room, apparently without any technological benefit. This was decidedly more interesting, and Emile had to stop herself from bombarding the alien with questions. At least she was communicating properly now. Pulling off this diplomacy feat, the urge to move pressured her to fidget with her hands, but at least she wasn't pacing side to side. She had to keep this simple, especially since she didn't know the technical specifics of how the matter printer worked anyway. NAR listened intently, trying to make sense of Emile's detailed explanation, full of technical jargon. Processor, motor-driven computer, design blueprint, data storage, touchscreen, molecular fusing, standardized circuit board, polymers, ceramics. Emile went on until NAR had to interrupt. I am truly sorry, but there are too many words I am unable to comprehend. We may revisit this topic later. For now, I would just like to know how humans built the weaving machine. Emile sensed a wave of embarrassment, unsure if it was her own or emanating from NR. She gave a simple but still incomprehensible answer. The weaving machine was built by other machines. Behind this intricate machine was an even more complex and intelligent weaving machine. And behind that was an even more sophisticated building machine. Lila couldn't fathom how humans had created the first machine. Learning this made it difficult for her to contain her curiosity. She formulated a concise question, ensuring she wouldn't reveal too much. How did you build that? Her confusion was overwhelming, leaving no room for other emotions. These building machines were made by even more advanced machines. How could this be an endless chain? What level of complexity could these machines reach? Lila's body grew warm as she struggled to grasp this mind-boggling concept. Did you build anything? She asked, quickly adding, with your own hands. To clarify, the alien shifted and twitched, its movements almost more pronounced than Neil's. The massive being appeared only a certain height because the floor behind the transparent wall was at least 10 meters lower, adding to Lila's unease. No, I did not, the alien interpreter replied. All of these things are built by machines. They are much more precise and better at making things than we are with our own hands and tools, but they are all based on our designs and ideas. Long ago, we did build the first machines ourselves. A long silence followed as the alien lifted its gaze, seemingly staring down the corridor that ended in the docking tunnel where Lila's spaceship was. After a few breathless seconds, it turned back to her. Impossible, the translator chirped with background noise. Lila waited for the delay to pass to hear the full message. You state that you are unable to build the interpreter machine, the weaving machine, or the builder machine. Yet, complexity can only come from greater complexity, just as intelligence cannot create greater intelligence. You claim to have built impossibly complex machines with your hands that then built the machines you say are too complex for you to build. This sequence is hard to believe. I am impressed and fascinated by the machines and objects you have displayed. I could not recreate them if I tried my hardest. I can only deduce that humans must have come after the machines, and you must originate from machines like every other object you have displayed. Neil's mind tumbled through these words, unable to find a calm spot amidst the whirlwind of thoughts. Was she not standing in a spaceship capable of interstellar travel, holding a device that translated alien communication into her language? Were these not incredibly complex machines? Firstly, we humans definitely don't come from machines, she began. Secondly, you made this. She held up and shook the translator, ignoring the potential impact on its functionality. This is a highly complex machine. It's a device that translates my language into yours and vice versa. How did you make this with your less complex hands? The alien started talking while she was still waving the translator. The translator is simple. I shaped and built it to internally vibrate from my thoughts, transforming these vibrations through connected material into movements of the outer skin, creating atmospheric pressure waves that humans can distinguish with their audio-sensory organs. It is an unmoving, simple, non-intelligent object. This is crazy, Lila exclaimed. What about your ship then? The ship is simple, was the same nonsensical reply, followed by an expanded explanation from the interpreter. My ship encapsulates an atmosphere and kinetic environment suitable for my well-being. I have shaped and built it to have many different translators to transform my thoughts into other forms of energy and movement. As simple and non-intelligent as Neil appeared, his eyes bulged from the revelation. He managed to suppress any further undiplomatic gestures of surprise and disbelief, though he felt himself vibrating internally. Watching his language, he asked with only a slight tint of exasperation, "Your technology is based on forms and shapes. If I dented the translator, would it stop working or what?" "Yes," the translator chirped, "and the same goes for your ship." Neil gestured wildly around himself. His momentary levels of disbelief alone could probably reshape the spaceship. "But how is your ship powered? How does it move through space without engines? How do you make all this work?" The silence that followed made him think he had overdone it. The large creature just stared, unmoving, and there was no way to tell if it was in the process of saying something or refusing to talk. At least until the translator spoke, producing a cascade of babble and distortion, through which Neil could only guess he heard the word shape. He waited for the interpreter to clarify, but nothing came. Frustrated, he began pacing, but forced himself to stop, digging his fingers into his hair. Maybe this was not a good topic. Maybe it was something for the engineers to ponder instead of him. He was here to establish relations, exchange basic information, and lay the groundwork for future cooperation. Neil felt a sense of shared frustration in the alien's response. The interpreter machine had been unable to understand what the alien, Nyar, had explained about the mathematical principles dictating the form of her ship and enabling space travel. Nyar emphasized that her spaceship was very complex and that humans would be unable to recreate it. They apologized for their language difficulties and suggested discussing simpler topics, like the materials used to build her ship. This seemed a simpler topic to discuss, so Nyar obliged. It also helped her to stop thinking about the seemingly impossible nature of human machines. She attempted to explain the knitting process and the building blocks used, but quickly realized she lacked the necessary vocabulary in human language. She decided to demonstrate instead, similar to how they had shown her their timekeeping machine. Nyar thought of a shape appealing to humans, deciding on a simple cube with the same volume and bright white color as their coverings. She moved the building blocks along her forearms, fusing them together piece by piece with her fingers, moving them rapidly to prevent premature hardening. She finished the cube quickly, satisfied with its precision. A wave of wonderment and surprise hit her before Neil expressed a single word. He seemed inexplicably impressed by the cube she had created. "This is a mere shell, a hollow shape without any purpose," Nyar explained. "I built it only to demonstrate the building process, as I cannot properly express it in your language." Despite her clarification, the humans remained amazed. They stated that they could now imagine how her ship had been built and reiterated how humans were unable to achieve such a feat. Neil went further, explaining that even if they raised tens of thousands of people with the knowledge of how it worked, they still would be unable to build a spaceship by hand. Tens of thousands, Nyar thought. She knew there were many humans, but not that many. This new piece of information disrupted her focus. She had not considered humans a threat because they were loud and conspicuous in space 2 sectors over, with what she had assumed to be a few hundred ships. Could there be so many more of them than of her species? Her thoughts slipped. "How many are you?" Neil answered instantly, "Around 22.55 billion.